What's up YouTube, Dreamkiller coming at you in another video. It's time once again for another pickups video. And I got a bunch of stuff picked up that I picked up over, I want to say 3 months. So this is going to be a big one, and it's also going to be an interesting one because I have some stuff here that I've never shown off in any pickups video before because, you know, I've never expressed my interest in it, but I will express it in this video. So basically we're going to start off with what I picked up. Let's just go with the video games. First of all, I'll start off with the games that I picked up in like late June. We'll start off with the fact that Injustice 2 came out, so I picked that up. And yeah, I was looking forward to that. But first I had to pick up the first Injustice, which was originally on PS3, but then they came up with it on, they ported it over the PS4, the Ultimate Edition, which has all the DLC that came for it, including DLC characters like General Zod, Batgirl, Lobo, I think Enchantress, I might be wrong about that, and also Martian Manhunter. So yeah, that's, you know, if you have never played the first Injustice, hardly start off with this version because it's got all DLC. And also, you know, first time playing Injustice, I love this story so much. It's like watching an animated movie, pretty much, of a DC storyline. And for those of you who played and know the story, you know what I'm talking about. If for those of you who haven't, I recommend, you know, this, if you ever want to get an interest in DC comics, DC lore, I highly recommend, you know, picking this up just for the story alone, so it'll get you interested in DC comics and getting into that stuff because it really is good. And Injustice 2 picks up right after that, and it's even more incredible story. The visuals for this game are bar none. I've never seen a more beautiful game. NetherRealm has done it again with their fighting genre with awesome stories that, you know, I just don't know what to say. NetherRealm really does a good job of putting really deep driving stories in their fighting games, and they do good with the DC license. They really do, and I'm looking forward to when Injustice 3 comes out, because we all know Injustice 3 eventually is going to happen in the next few years or two, but right now, for what we have right now, Injustice 2 does a good job. So, highly recommend picking them up. And so we get to June, and this was after I made my trip to Oregon, and again, I'll tell you about that later on. But yeah, got a bunch of games I picked up afterwards. So we'll start with a game that I was so looking forward to when it was announced, highly anticipated and must buy, and that is the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. For those of you who grew up with Crash, this is an instant buy. It's a remastering of all 3 Crash games, and this was just so needed because Crash had been absent since the mid-2000s with the shitty games that came out after the original trilogy. And this is just such a great remastering. Granted, I've only owned Crash 1 in my life. I never played 2 or 3, but for Crash 1 alone, it was just nice to see a remastering of a game that I loved so much, but yet hated at the same time because it was so difficult. This game fixes a lot of the difficulty. Still difficult as hell, but the difference is like when collecting gems to complete the game, you can actually die now. Whereas the original, you couldn't die, and you had to get all crates without dying. Here you can die, but still get all the crates and still get the gem, and that's much needed, and it would put a relief. Still hard as fuck though. You know, going back to Crash 1, a lot of my childhood trauma was revisited, but I actually got to do something that I had never done in my life as a kid, and that was be able to beat Crash 1 100%, and that was the greatest feeling in the world. My childhood fantasy of completing this game, Crash 1, was complete. Still haven't gotten to Crash 2 or 3 yet, but I'm having a blast with this trilogy so far. And like I said, if you're a Crash fan, Since the originals, this is an instant buy, and this also is recommended to newcomers of Crash who never played the original trilogy. If you want to get into Crash, start off with this, and then tear your hair out by buying the original games, because they are difficult as fuck. And then we got Attack on Titan on PS4, which is Dynasty Warriors Attack on Titan. And I don't know if I'm going to show up gameplay for these games at all. We'll see how this video turns out. But it's basically, if you ever watched the anime, you pretty much know it's humans fighting off these gigantic monstrous titans to save the extinction, to protect from humans being extinct and whatnot. And so you basically have this thing called a omnidirectional gear that kind of makes you fly around buildings like Spider-Man. This is one of the things too. It gets compared to Spider-Man 2, the game, and its web swinging mechanics. It's a lot like that, and it's fun. It's fun. It's repetitive, but it's fun because basically all you're doing is swing around buildings, attacking titans. You get side objectives that help characters, and you basically get an abridged version of the anime. And that's highly. If you ever were hesitant to watch the anime, I would recommend playing this game. Get a bridge version of the anime. If you're still interested, then actually watch the anime, because I'm currently on season 2 and I love the anime. Especially it gets more interesting towards season 2, but this kind of covers only season 1. I hope maybe one day this will get a sequel, and maybe we'll get an interpretation of season 2, but right now this is actually pretty good. The only downside to it though is the camera is wonky as fuck. Yeah, I had too many issues where the camera was against me the entire time, but other than that, it's a fun little Dynasty Warriors clone with Attack on Titan. So if you ever played Dynasty Warriors, you know what I'm talking about. And moving on to stuff I purchased at my local game exchange, where they sell retro video games such as PS2, PS1, and whatnot. And I had, before I went on my trip to Oregon, I had purchased a GameCube, which I'm not going to show off because it's sitting in my shelf and I'm too lazy to unplug it and show it off or take a picture of it to just show off on camera. But I got that, and I loved the ever-loving crap out of it. It was my goal to get a GameCube because poor kid growing up, I can only ever afford a PlayStation 2, and I played the shit out of my PS2, but I always wanted to own the GameCube and original Xbox. Still don't own the original Xbox, but I'll get that one day. So yeah, I got a GameCube now, and one of the must-have games you gotta have for your GameCube is, if I don't drop it, Mario Sunshine. Mario Sunshine has mixed feelings towards people. Some people love Super Mario Sunshine, some don't like it as much because of its certain mechanics involving the water cannon that you get attached to Mario. And you know, some people love the mechanics, some people don't like it. I honestly, in my opinion, like this game so far. I've only played a little bit of it to see if it actually works, and I like it so far. The mechanics are a little bit hard to get used to, and one of the things I hate is that the camera is inverted and I cannot change it, and that's a negative on my opinion. I hate inverted cameras so much, and you can't change it, but the camera giving me shit. It's your basic Mario platformer with the water cannon mechanics. If you play Mario Sunshine, you already know what I'm talking about, and yeah. And I hear they're thinking about porting this over to the Switch. I heard they're like do a lot of GameCube games on the Switch, but you know, till then I have the original to play with. And I'm having fun so far. Moving on to some PS4, or not PS4, PS2 goodness. A game that's been on my look for list for some time now, and that's Shinobi. Shinobi started off on the Genesis, or Master System, one of those, and it expanded from there, and this is one of the Shinobi games that came out on PS2 along with a spin-off game that was kind of a sequel to this one. And basically, you're a ninja. It kind of has a lot of platforming, hack and slash elements to it, and it's a lot of fun. The controls are there's a little learning curve to the controls, but eventually you get used to them. It's a nice little platforming, and you get to live out your fantasy of being a ninja. Who doesn't like being a ninja? Next up, I got a little collection here, the Sonic Mega Collection Plus, which comes with Sonic 1, 2, 3, Sonic & Knuckles, Sonic 3D Blast, Sonic Spinball, and Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. I was totally not reading from the back, but you get all the Sonic games that came out on the Genesis, and it's a nice little collection. There's tons of collections that have the original Sonic games. I already own the Sonic's Ultimate Genesis collection on PS3 that also has the original Sonic games, but any opportunity to get Sonic collections on any system is worth your time, and this is only like $5. Really cheap if you want to get into Sonic, you have a PS2, or if you already own the Sonic Ultimate collection, which I also highly recommend, that's also probably cheap too. Want to get your Sonic fix? There you go. Next up, we got Spider-Man the movie, the game for PS2, and this is pretty much, honestly, it's pretty much, if you ever played Spider-Man 2000 on PS1, this is pretty much it, but with Spider-Man the movie skinned over it, and honestly, that's not bad because I liked Spider-Man 2000 on the PS1, and I like this. Pretty much play through a British version of the movie, and that's the Spider-Man game. You know, I've never, besides the really old games, like on way back when, that I've never gotten the chance to play, or I'll put it this way, I've seen Angry Video Game Nerd did a Spider-Man video game review, and I've seen some of the bad games, but past those games, I've never seen a bad Spider-Man game. This is really, it's an okay Spider-Man game. If you ever played Spider-Man 2000 on PS1, it's pretty much that. Basically, your average Spider-Man game. No more else to say. Okay, so last but not least, we got Castlevania Curse of Darkness, and this is one of the two Castlevania games that came out on PS1 that were doing a total 3D Castlevania style, like kind of the Metroidvania approach. And if you don't know what Metroidvania is, it's pretty much when Castlevania Symphony of the Night came out on PS1, it was pretty much copying the style of Metroid, and Metroid was doing like this whole exploring a huge world with an expanding map and whatever, and pretty much when Symphony of the Night came out, it was copying that style, and it was a style that people loved, and it pretty much kept going through a number of games until Lords of Shadow came out and went for their God of War approach. But this is a pretty decent game. I'm having a little trouble right now because I've had troubles with the loading screens. I don't know if it's the game, having the game just itself fucking up on me. I mean, I went back to the store and they've had it fixed, but I haven't had the time to play through it to see if it's been fixed yet, because I have a bunch of games I'm playing through, but it's Castlevania game. You can't go wrong with a Castlevania game. I've never seen a bad Castlevania game, much like I've never seen a bad Spider-Man game, so definitely worth the purchase. So that's it, that does it for video games, and now we're gonna move on to knickknacks that I got while I was visiting my girlfriend in Oregon, and I had an awesome time. I honestly didn't want to leave, but you know, I had a good time nonetheless, and it was around the time of my birthday, and she actually bought me this. It was a nice little gift that I loved her for getting me this, a nice little PlayStation shirt. Honey, if you're watching this, I love you for getting me this. You are the awesomest girlfriend ever. And so we also went to a farmer's market where they had these people that were selling little knickknacks that they handmade themselves. And my girlfriend also bought this for me. It's a Charmander hat with the little tassels on it, and I'm just gonna put it on right now. Bring on the cringe, I don't care. I love it so much. I was like, babe, you gotta buy this for me. And I bought her a little Totoro plushie, and she loved the ever-living fuck out of it. So she was more than willing to pay back the love by getting me this, and I absolutely adore it. Also bought this. It's a Batman fidget spinner. My opinion on fidget spinners is like the whole craze of fidget spinners. It's pretty much the same craze that yo-yos were back in my day. You want to guess how old I was? Think back how long ago yo-yos were popular. But yeah, fidget spinners, they're the yo-yos of this generation, and I think they're okay. I mean, they're entertaining for like a few minutes. I don't know why they blew up the way they did, but it's what it is. I bought this solely because of the fact it was Batman. My girlfriend looked at me when I bought this with a look of disapproval, and I was like, don't give a fuck, had to buy it. Don't judge me. I'm not a big fan of fidget spinners. Let's get this out of the way. I'm not a big fan. I just think they're a craze that will eventually die out, like everything else. Next is what was supposed to be a necklace. This little Pokemon emblem right here, and it went to this little chain. But unfortunately, when I came back from my trip to Oregon, it kind of got broken in transit in my luggage, so my big mistake there was don't put cheap chain necklaces in a suitcase. Bring it with you. I'll learn that next time. I'm sure they have like places that I can get a chain, either a new chain or get it fixed, but it just stands right there. And finally, this coincides with a story of later on when I went down to my local comic book store to get some stuff. And they had a nice little Green Lantern ring. They actually had all the lantern rings, but I just mainly wanted to get the Green Lantern one. And at some point, I want to get all of them. But you know, feel powerful when I wear this. I'm such a nerd, and I'm keeping this on, by the way. If y'all hadn't noticed, I'm keeping this on for the remainder of this video. A lot of people know I'm a huge metal fan. I love goth rock, heavy metal, goth metal, anything and everything rock I love. And so I picked up a few CDs about like a month ago, starting with Disturbed Indestructible. This is by far my favorite Disturbed album. I'm a huge fan of Disturbed, but this by far is my favorite album, maybe because my favorite song from this is The Night, my favorite Disturbed song ever. This is by far their best album they've ever put out. The future albums they put out are great. Past albums were great, but this by far I think was like their best one. I want to say like this is when they reached their peak, is when I want to say. And not to say that their other albums were terrible, it's just this is where they reached their peak and they just leveled out from there. So if you're a Disturbed fan, or if you want to get into Disturbed, I highly recommend starting out with Indestructible. It's a great album. Next, I'm also a Five Finger Death Punch fan, and I found this at Walmart. God bless Walmart. They have great CDs for cheap, like $7 to $5. And I got Five Finger Death Punch's The Wrong Side of Heaven, Richest Side of Hell, Volume 2. Volume 1 is the really one you want to get. This is where most people got into Five Finger Death Punch through the Volume 1 of this album. This is Volume 2. Unfortunately, I couldn't find Volume 1, but I just settled for this. The best song on here is Battleborn. I think my favorite song by Five Finger Death Punch definitely is I Apologize from their recent album, but you know, this is a good album too. Highly recommend it if you want to get into Five Finger Death Punch, though get Volume 1. And finally, Breaking Benjamin's Phobia. And the main reason, of course, why I got this is their most popular song that most people know them for is The Diary of Jane. But you know, I also like Breaking Benjamin. They have a good sound to them. And this is like their best album, I think. So I recommend starting out if you ever want to get into Breaking Benjamin. And that's my small taste in music. I eventually want to get into talking more about music, but with YouTube and their copyright policy, it's kind of a little hard to do. But at some point, I want to do that. Last but not least, back in the day, I was a huge comic book nerd. Would collect comics like crazy, like the small individual ones. But then I kind of fizzled out. But recently, in my trip to Oregon, God bless my girlfriend again. I love her so much because she's as much of a nerd as I am. She took me to her local comic store where I felt like I died and went to heaven, and I picked out a good selection of comics, with more comics that grew as I went to that store again, and also went to my store in here. where I live, and we'll start off with the stuff I first bought when she took me to the store, and we'll start off with the thing that caught my eye the first time because I found out that the game had a comic book series, but I didn't know how to purchase them without going on the internet because, you know, I don't want to go on the internet to get my stuff. If I can find a store that sells this stuff, I will buy it. And so let's talk about the fact that I got Injustice. This is year one, the complete year one, where everything started. You know, this pretty much covers everything that happened after Superman. Spoilers. After Superman killed the Joker, and it's pretty much the gap between what happened there and where the first game starts off. And I think this has 5 volumes to it. And this is volume 1 that covers the first year of what happened. And it's a really fun read. Injustice has a great story to it. The game has a great story to it. The comic book itself goes even more deeper into that. And, you know, the ramifications of Superman as he starts falling into this dictator-like mindset, and Batman totally against it, and everyone in the Justice League is split together. You start seeing everything unravel in this comic and the future comics to come until you get to the game. And it's a good read. I highly recommend it. If you liked Injustice, the game's story so much, pick this pretty cool comic up if you can. If you can collect all the volumes, good. I can only find the one volume, if I can find the rest, I will be a happy clam. Then after that, I picked up the complete Volume 3 collection of Punisher Max. I originally owned what I thought was complete Volume 1, but apparently this is the actual complete. I got the complete for Volume 1, but I'll get to that later. But then I thought this actually was the first one. To find out it was Volume 3, I kind of goofed up. But I told myself if I find the other volumes of this, then I will pick them up. But this is what you want to get. If you ever see another version of Punisher Max that's way thinner, don't get that. Get this instead because you get everything. A lot of stories from the Punisher Max, and I'm just going to say Punisher Max is the most fucked up version of the Punisher you will ever read. If you didn't think Punisher getting more fucked up, read Punisher Max, because it just goes into goes places that you would never you would expect, but it's just really dark humor, very violent, very gory, and it's just everything you want in the Punisher. And it's a fine read. Especially, I only read the thin volume 1 that I had, but I wanted more, and I was happy to find more Punisher Max to read. And I'll get into the other volumes that I bought afterwards, because I'm going in this what I bought in order. So bear with me here. So next we'll get into some new 52 stuff from DC, and we got Justice League Origin. This is pretty much a rebooted Justice League when New 52 started, and I saw the animated movie and I loved it, wanted to get into the comic. This is pretty much a page-for-page version of the movie. Pretty much the movie just covers everything that the book already covered. It's pretty much the Justice League forming when Darkseid's minions starts planting bombs in the various cities on Earth, and then Darkseid himself actually starts to come out, and then all the superheroes have to form together to defeat him. And it's just nice to see this version of the Justice League. You know, it's fun. It's nice seeing them being put together. The different New 52 versions of all the superheroes are a blast to read. Whether you're a fan of New 52 or not, I definitely highly recommend that you pick this up. And I'm running out of steam here, folks. My voice is dry right here, but I'm gonna continue on. This is the last pickup of the first day. The first day I went to the comic book shop that my girlfriend showed me, and this is Batman: Night of the Owls, which pretty much covers the entire Court of Owls storyline when they rebooted Batman for the New 52. And this is very deep storyline for Batman. It pretty much covers the history of Gotham when the Court of Owls first took over Gotham City, to the point where Batman is now residing, defending Gotham. And pretty much the Court of Owls is pretty much there to trying to stop Batman because, you know, they feel he gets in the way of what they established way back when. The Court of Owls is quite an interesting set of villains for Batman to take on. If you don't know anything about this, then I highly recommend that you watch the animated movie Batman vs. Robin, which covers the Court of Owls storyline, but adds a little bit to it. Then go back and you actually could read this, where it covers the same thing that the movie did. So it's Batman. How can you go wrong with Batman? So going on to the next day when I went back to the comic book shop without my girlfriend because she went to work at the time, I got, let's see, 3 more comic book collections, starting with Daredevil, Visionaries, Frank Miller Volume 2. This is a part of a 3-volume set that covers all the stuff that Frank Miller did with Daredevil and the Elektra storyline, including the famous Daredevil 181 where Elektra died. Spoilers if you've never heard about that, but it's kind of much comic book history now about the death of Elektra. That was pretty much covered in the Daredevil Ben Affleck movie, which I love the Daredevil Ben Affleck movie. And this is, if you ever wanted to start off Daredevil when you don't know where to start off with Frank Miller's work. Frank Miller pretty much owned Daredevil. It was his character, it is his character alone. No one's been able to top it so far, although I heard recently with their new version of Daredevil, kind of going back in the style of Frank Miller, and it's kind of decent, but I haven't gotten to that yet. But always start with Frank Miller's work. Frank Miller pretty much owned Daredevil. He made it his own vision, and it's stuck for years to come, and I highly recommend picking this up, especially for the Elektra Daredevil romance storyline that it covers pretty much. You know, this version, this volume 2 is where 181 actually is, but you can get all 3 volumes and you'll be set for life. Next, you know, me being a Deadpool fan, I wanted to start getting into Deadpool because I never read his comic books, but you know, through other media such as the video game, the Ryan Reynolds movie, because we can all agree is the shit, and all the various anime movies he was in. I never actually read a comic book, so this is the Deadpool comic that came out like somewhere in the mid-2000s. This comic book series came out, and this is like the version, this definitive Deadpool storyline to get, because it's pretty much covers all Deadpool shenanigans. This is volume 2 because when I went to look for this particularly, they didn't have volume 1, so I'm hoping to get volume 1 at some point along with the various audio volumes. I don't know how many volumes this particular Deadpool storyline does, and I'm sure it's played a lot. But especially Deadpool getting into a lot of shenanigans. This covers Deadpool being a pirate, working with Captain America, fighting Ghost Rider of all people, and dealing with vampires, robots. It's a lot of shit that Deadpool gets into, but it's funny stuff. So if you ever want to get into Deadpool comics, definitely highly recommend this, but get volume 1. Don't do what I did and get volume 2 and just skip a bunch of shit. The last thing I got at the comic book store where my girlfriend lived was another Daredevil story, but with a little added bit, a Punisher. Daredevil versus Punisher. I have not gotten to read this yet, but I love the various stories they've had with Daredevil and Punisher because, you know, it's the whole thing, Daredevil doesn't kill, Punisher kills, and they kind of have a disagreement with that. It's the same thing with the fact that when DC and Marvel had their little crossover way back when, I think they did a storyline with Punisher and Batman, where it's pretty much the same thing. Batman was totally against killing, and Punisher was all for killing. Batman disagreed with that, and there's deep storyline involved with that, and this is no different. And again, Punisher and Daredevil make for a great storyline when they get together and fight, and then ultimately resolve something or whatever. But yeah, Daredevil versus Punisher. Love Daredevil, love Punisher. They're a good combo. So, thanks to my girlfriend revitalizing my love for comics, I went down to my local comic book shop where I got the Green Lantern ring, and I got some various more comics, and these are the last few, I promise. So, like I said, I got volume 3 of Punisher Max not knowing that, well, they didn't actually have the other volumes, but not knowing that there were bigger, better volumes than the ones I had. And so we got volume 1 of Punisher Max, which covers the beginning of this particular storyline of Punisher, and then you got volume 2. So like I said, if you ever want to get into Punisher, start with Punisher Max or Punisher Wardor, but mostly stick with these ones because they ground Punisher to earth. They're gory as fuck. The dark humor is quite fucked up, but it is a great ultimate Punisher storyline. And the cover art by Tim Bradstreet, who did a lot of Punisher covers, his art style was very unique at the time because his artwork had never been done prior to this. So he's a great comic book cover artist, and the art itself is not that bad too. Very realistic, very disturbing at times, and I like it. A comic that I wanted to get into for so long because it's what inspired the Dark Knight trilogy and the Dark Knight itself. And that's Batman: The Long Halloween. This pretty much covers a storyline about a crazed killer that only kills on holidays, much like Calendar Man, what Batman's villain, but it's actually not Calendar Man, it's someone mysterious and whatnot. And Batman, along with Commissioner Gordon and Harvey Dent, the new district attorney, had to form a pact to hunt this guy down, but do it the legal way. And this is what inspired the Dark Knight, with the Harvey Dent becoming Two-Face, with the whole thing of, you know, Batman and how he does his moral code. It's pretty much, if you watch The Dark Knight and you read this comic, you can see where the inspiration came from. It's a really deep story, and it has a very twist ending at the end that you don't expect. I was digging into this story the minute I got it in my hands, and it's so good. The art style is very unique too, and it kind of throws me off a little bit the way characters look, but it's a nice art style. So highly recommend it. If you're a Batman fan, you must own this, along with Year One and the Killing Joke. Those are the essential Batman stories. Another essential story for this particular hero, Flashpoint, The Flash. This is one of the most talked about Flash comic book stories in recent years. It's what inspired season 3 of The Flash on TV, and what's inspiring the current Flash movie that is coming out, which recently got announced that it was titled Flashpoint. And I'm very interested to see where that goes. But yeah, it's pretty much Flash fucks up the timeline. It creates an alternate universe where Batman is Thomas Wayne, aka Bruce Wayne's father. Wonder Woman and Aquaman are at war with each other, and Cyborg is kind of doing a rebellion with certain supervillains to stop this war from happening. And it's just, I've only gotten a little bit of it. I already got to a little bit with Thomas Wayne Batman, and of course the main reason why people talk about Flashpoint so much is the Thomas Wayne Batman. It's like one of the most talked about things in the storyline, and expands from, like, this is just the initial story of how all things happen. Then you get the expanded part of Flashpoint where they go into the individual characters like Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg, and of course Thomas Wayne Batman. But this is where you start off, and it's a fine read so far, and I'm enjoying the ever-loving hell out of it. If you ever wanted to get into the Flash, start with this one and go from there. And last but very not least, another essential Frank Miller storyline to Daredevil, and that's Daredevil Born Again. This was pretty much how Frank Miller got started with Daredevil. He just pretty much made Daredevil a clean slate by getting rid of the costume for a good long while, having Daredevil just had to reevaluate his life as Daredevil, and this is very deep, very moving, especially with the stuff with with Daredevil's ex-girlfriend Karen Page, having this. It's hard because I don't want to spoil anything for people who've never read Born Again, but it's pretty much Daredevil's ex-girlfriend Karen Page gives up his secret identity, and that leaves a lot of people wanting to go after him now that they know who he is. Very, very deep. Again, Frank Miller pretty much owned Daredevil at this time when he took over the character, His art is great, his writing is superb. If you ever want to get into Daredevil, get into the Elektra stuff, and also pick this little buddy up. Born Again is a great, great Daredevil story. And so with that, I am done with everything, and holy crap, my voice is very dry right now, and I need water stat. Again, I'm sorry if this video is not that professional. There's a lot of edits because I fucked a lot of things up, but you know, thank you guys for just sticking around with me for the end of the video if you did. If you didn't, oh well. But I had fun picking up this stuff, especially with the comic books. You know, I don't get to talk about comic books that often because at one point I just stopped giving a shit about comics altogether. I still love the superhero movie genre, but I just lost my interest in comic books. But thanks to the awesome person that is my girlfriend, she got me back into it. So thank you, babe, if you're watching this. But yeah, I'm happy to get into my nerdom when it comes to comic books, especially with video games. You always know I get into it with video games. And so hopefully you all enjoyed this video and stuck to the end. So thank you all very much for watching. If you do like this video, hit the thumbs up button because my channel grows because of it, and subscribe because as always I have many more videos to come like this. Once again, thank you all for watching. I'm Dreamkiller. Gamers keep on gaming.